another Friday, another beautiful episode of The Good, the Mad, the Ugly. Hello out there, everyone. I am your host, Spencer Picouli. Some of you might know me as Mav, and yes, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of my eponymous show, The Good, the Mad, the Ugly, the source for your weekly deep dives into the world of weebery, including video games, anime, comic books, all that fun stuff. So, welcome, as always. I'm glad to be here. It's been a week, to say the least. Heads up, guys, just so we know out of the at the top, I am probably going to be a little loopy right now because I have a cold coming on and I just took some cold medicine. So if I lose my train of thought more often than I normally do, I totally apologize for that. But yes, that is what I have going on my end. But aside from that, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Obviously, we have the headline story, which is Ubisoft's latest round of anti-consumer nonsense, which we will definitely get into. In fact, that's probably what the chunk of the show is going to be about, I have a brief update on Amazing Spider-Man comics, as always, because there's something we got to talk about. And of course, we didn't get a chance to do it last week because we were going so long on last week's show. But tonight we will go over the first trailer for the Halo 2, the Halo Paramount series Season 2. I still have not watched it yet. I haven't done any reporting on it yet. So I'm going to go into it fresh with you guys. But that is what we are talking about tonight. And of course, if there's any other topics that you guys want to talk about, if you want to throw them out there, if you want to bring them up, let me know. That's what we're here for. We're here to talk with you. I'm here to talk with you. I hope you're here to talk with me. But let's get into it. Before we get started, I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. Let's see. We have Zero. As always, I is here. How's it going, buddy? Nice to see you. Thank you so much for the kind words earlier where, I don't know if you guys saw it, but there's like a tweet, just one of those standard engagement tweets. It's like, who are you watching this weekend? And it's got like 9 streamers on it. I know who was on that one. I think it was like Eric July, Nerdrotic, Heels versus Babyface, people in our sphere. And Zero retweeted it and said, I'm excited to watch Mavs. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. So thanks a lot for that, man. We've got Meteor Advocate Timon. What is going on, buddy? Nice to see you, as always. Another AO from Zero. Of course, man, I'm not going to miss you. And yes, Zero, I double checked this time before we went live. I made sure my mic was good. I made sure the volume was up. I tested it. It's a learning process, but we are slowly but surely getting there. And then yes, hail all to Ravul of Arvita, my boy. Always a pleasure to see you. And obviously, I hope there's probably some of you out there who can't chat right now. Maybe you're watching this later in the replay. So shout out to all of you guys. Hello. Nice to see you. Special shout out. I just realized the other day, I don't know why I was thinking about this, but we haven't seen Truth around here for a long time. So Truth, if you're out there, I hope that things are going well. I just wanted to give a shout out to you, buddy. But let's see. Zero says, funny you mentioned it because pretty much hours ago, I kind of just disavowed myself from watching Nerdrotic's crew. So I'm presuming that this is in reference to the whole drama that's going on with like Eric July and Ethan Van Sciver and Comicsgate and all that stuff. I presume that's what you're talking about, Zero, but in case you're not, correct me. But on that topic, scratchy throat means I need cold water. But on that topic, I don't know a lot about what's going on in it. I kind of typically, when it comes to matters of like inner community drama or just drama in general, I tend to stay out of it because one, I'm not a 14-year-old girl. I've got better things to do, right? And two, it serves nobody but the people who are engaging in the drama, right? Like, I don't know. If that's what you want, go for it. But like every time I see somebody trying to pick a fight with me or trying to start noise with me or something I might get angry at, I just go, you know what? I'm going to go play a video game. I'm going to go read a comic book. I'm going to go do anything else because what do I gain from spending like 30 hours of my time fighting back and forth and all these messages and ops and blah, blah, blah. It's all ridiculous. So as somebody who is in the sphere but doesn't really care about all that stuff, I'm just sitting here going, oof, it's just, yeah, I do agree with that, Zero. I do think it is, or I think I'm there with you, Ravul. Yeah, EVS is just farming drama. I feel like everybody's farming here. Everybody's losing sight of everything. It's become less of like the Ethan cult of personality is taking over too strong, I guess, right now. And it's just, I don't know. I don't care about any of that. If people want to engage in that and waste their time doing all of that stuff and making videos and screeching and all that, go for it. But I just think, yeah, I just think people got to just do better things with your time. But I also, let's see, I saw Zero there. Yeah, I am a staunch follower of Eric for life. Eric just wants to make comic books. Yeah, and then he also says, that's why I ain't bothering much anymore with the spat. Hell, not even Eric is bothering. That's the thing, is like, no matter, again, I don't know all the facts. I don't know, I haven't been following it. I genuinely do not care. But at the end of the day, it's sort of just like, what am I trying to say here? It's just, yeah, well, I think I'm just retreading ground I already walked on, but it's basically just, when it comes to drama stuff like this, I care more about, like, put your money where your mouth is. They can have all the drama they want. They can do all that stuff they want. I'm going to judge them on the merits of their work, right? And I haven't bought either Cyberfrog or any of Eric's work, like, just cards on the table. So I'm just a casual observer here, but basically I think that it's just, it's insane to see so many grown people engaging in such childlike behavior, just from all sides of the debate, right? Like, Zero says, I know it just sucks to watch this happen. And I'm like, yeah, and Society says, yeah, drama farming. What's up, Jacob? Yes, it's exactly drama farming. And Zero, yeah, like, I know it sucks to watch this happen, but at the same time, like, again, like, I kind of, if I'm being completely honest, I feel like this is where we were headed for a long time. I feel like Comicsgate has been moving way closer to the cult of Ethan personality, and he does all that he can to farm the outrage, farm the drama, start stuff, start fights, pick all of this. You know, we've seen him engage in just dumb behavior all around, and that's not denigrating the quality of his work. I think Ethan is a fantastic artist. Like, do not get me wrong. I still open up his runs from Green Lantern and am blown away at just the quality of his work. And then when he posts sketches of Cyberfrog or Salamandroid or whatever, I go, wow, like, Ethan still got it. Like, he has the talent to, like, afford him a little bit of ego. But I think at this point, it just feels like I'm seeing so much of the same behavior that we criticize other outgroups for, or not outgroups, but like other fandoms or cliques for. Like, that same kind of cliquey behavior has come in to this realm now, right? Like, for all the complaining everybody did back in the day about, oh, everybody's making up their like cliques in the mainstream comic industry, and they're having whisper campaigns, and they're doing it. I'm seeing a lot of that out of the indie creators who once rallied against that, right? It's just a very disappointing development. It's a reason I don't attach my wagon to people per se, or movements per se. You know, I'm not one to say like, oh, I love all things that. I love all things independent comics. I love all things mainstream comics. I go case by case basis. And just doing that, like, you avoid these situations where you're either forced to pick a side or whatever else may come, right? Zero says, same here. I never said anything bad about Ethan's art. My issue is with his ego and personality. Yeah, and I think that is mainly what a lot of people's complaints are about, because it's not, for all the complaints you can say about Ethan's, like, what do you call it? Like, delivery time, which I know there have been a lot. Again, I don't know the extent, so I can't comment directly on that. But I can also say that, like I said, Ethan has such a talent, and his product is of such a dedicated quality that it affords him some leeway to be a little bit egotistical, right? But not in this sense. I sort of see it in the same realm you would have seen like a Kanye West, right? Pre anti-Jewish meltdown, right? Like, Kanye, he was egotistical. He talked smack a lot. He was always, you know, I'm the best. I'm the whatever. Like, shut up. I'm the best rapper. You know, the Taylor Swift moment at the Grammys. But he had the musical talent to back it up. Every time he dropped an album, at least personally, and again, obviously this is anecdotal because it's all personal taste, but I would get a new Kanye album and I would just go, oh man, this dude is so good. Do you hear how he did that? Oh my God. Do you hear that chord progression? What has happened? Like, so, but then, you know, of course, that only affords you so much leeway, like I've been saying. And then you get to the point where you have a big meltdown like he did on InfoWars, or you get to the point where Ethan is just yelling at everybody who comes his way and picking fights. Like, the behavior I'm seeing out of them, or out of this entire debacle from everybody involved is just immaturity. It's a lot of like, no, I didn't say it just like that. No, I didn't do that. It's all just, what do we all benefit from? Why can't we all just step away, just go breathe, go watch a movie, and then come back and just be like, all right, we all let it all it got to our head a little bit, right? Ravul Arvita says EVS has been running Trashcast streams almost every day talking about Yellow Flash and Eric. So that's enough. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting at, right, Ravul? Is that I get it if you have like 1 or 2 streams and you talk about it and you farm it, whatever, and you get your click money. But when you start doing it like every day for no other reason than just to poke the bear, who are you like, I don't think outside of anybody but your in-group, this is not endearing you to anybody, but making you like somebody that we want to buy products from, somebody that anybody wants to support, anybody that, because like, at least to me, make comics, man. Like, I feel like, at least personally, again, I don't know the whole timelines and delays, but I feel like Cyberfrog and Salamandroid and all those things we'd be on like volume 3 or 4 by now, right? Comicsgate was like 2016 is like when it really kicked off, and we're 8 years out now, and I don't think we've come that far. So it's like, I would love to see Ethan actually put more effort into like doing his work than whatever this is. And I think it sucks because it's so circular. He's going to eat himself, and it's just going to end up with we're in the end game now, right? Like, it's just going to end with everybody at each other's throats, everybody disappointed with each other, everybody throwing fits, everybody throwing, like, it's a disaster, which is why I'm just like, okay, you guys go deal with that over there. I'm going to go have Ecomania over with Jacob, right? Let's see. Where was I? Hey, everyone. Hope I'm not too late. Shinkai, never too late, buddy. Always a pleasure to see you. You are never too late. Don't ever think that. Let's see. Zero says, meanwhile, Eric makes streams and videos like this fight isn't even happening because he has no interest in internet blood sports. As far as my take on Eric's involvement in this is that I don't know all the specific details, so I don't know if he's quote unquote running away from things or if he's just trying not to engage. But at least from an outside observer's point of view, the fact that Eric isn't engaging in a lot of this is a bit respectable. I have a bunch of issues with like the quality of ISOM and other things, but those are separate like discussions, right? Like it's just ego. It's just battles of egos every day. Once people start latching onto personalities and relying on personalities to tell them what to do and what to think and all that fun stuff, that's when things start going haywire, because it's always going to feed into a loop where no matter how humble you might think you are, you're going to get a little bit of an inflated ego when thousands upon thousands, maybe even millions in Ethan's case, follow and support you. You know what I mean? So it's just high school on a bigger level. And nowadays I can choose to exit the situation because I'm not forced to sit in class with all of them and listen to it all day long. You know what I mean? Zero says, Ethan's issue is that he's more focused on fighting people on Twitter and streaming about it than he is about getting his work delivered. It's like we're looking at the right-wing version of Dan Slott. Oof! Oof! Oh, man, that's a brutal comparison, but I don't think I could in good faith disagree with that. I think that's a pretty good read of it, right? Because, again, who did I say this to? I don't know if I said this on stream or if I said this to, like, maybe just Zero Dozer. I don't know why I said your full username there. That was weird. But if you guys remember, there's that episode of the Marvel 616 documentary they did that focused on Dan Slott's work that just completely destroyed him. Someday we are going to do like a stream watch of that episode and just like slap our faces and facepalm at everything that's in that video, because I can't believe Marvel thought it was a good idea to actually release that. Let's see. Yeah, see, like, Zero says Eric isn't running away. It's his choice not to engage. And it's like, I don't remember, or not I don't remember, but I don't know it all. So I'm only saying this from a casual observer's point of view, because at the end of the day, I want to see the work they produce. And this is not helping in the production of work. And obviously I have critiques of both of their works whatsoever, but I'm so over petty little ego fights like this, no matter what the sphere. Like, that's why I don't I don't engage in them, period. I mean, if somebody on Twitter comes for my work and says something like, "Oh, you blatantly lied, you're lying about this, fake news, blah blah blah," I'll engage because you're attacking like my reputation, my work, like the things that represent me. But if you just want to come at me and go, "Oh, Spencer, you're stupid. I disagree with you. Why are you so dumb?" All right, have fun. I hope the $5 you milk off of that is worth it, because I'm not going to give you any more material, right? Let's see. And then, yeah, meanwhile, Ethan has been brigading Twitter and even YouTube channels with his fans. Again, it's the same sort of petty drama behavior you see from all the weirdo Tumblr circles or the Reddit circles or just any community that lets egos rise to the center, right? It's just, I don't really know what more to say other than like, because yeah, like at the end of the day, support who you want to support. But as far as I'm concerned, I think everybody could stand to just disengage with internet drama and go read a comic book, go watch a movie, or go play a video game. We all have backlogs. I know we do. Whether it's you've got movies to watch, you've got video games to play. Something better can be done with your time. Or in the case of like, I know he's not here right now, but DZ3, right? Or Truth, like we were talking about. Make your own stuff, because this is the sort of stuff, at least in my view, that turned me off of the mainstream comic book industry. All the childlike infighting, all of that. And so, I don't know. Like, I can't bring myself to have a stronger opinion than this is all so stupid. Right? It's sort of like I am sitting at high school and I'm watching, these two people fight, and I'm just like, you're holding up the fact that like we could be leaving to go get Jack in the Box right now. Can we please go get Jack in the Box? Nobody cares about this infighting. It's so, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Obviously blood sports is a phenomenon that everybody likes, and some people like it in their community, some not, whatever. I get it. I just don't want to be anywhere near it. Zero says, I've been doing Final Fantasy, Brave Exvius, and 30XX. Hey, you got to be careful with Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, because isn't that that's like the last mobile game they have running, right? Because I know Square Enix has been on like a war path to like shutter all their mobile, or what do you call it, like live service mobile games, because the ecosystem is dead. Like we went over last week with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the live service ecosystem is just completely... Let's see. I don't want to say dead, because obviously it's never going to die. It's going to be here for a while in some form or capacity. But in its current incarnation, it's dead. It's going to... Obviously, it'll probably pop back up and there will be waves, but we're currently in like a dead period. And... So I remember there was a report that said something like Square had like 15 live service mobile games in production at like one time, like middle of last year, and then they canceled most of them because it's just a complete time sink. So yeah, that's one of the things I hate about these mobile like live service games is I don't want to put all my money in, well, not money, because I've never spent money on a mobile game, but I don't want to put all my time into something and then it's like, oh, by the way, can't play it anymore, goodbye. And that's something we will get into. That is actually something we should probably get into. But let's see. Yeah, Zero says, yep, it's pretty much the last gacha Square has. In Japan, there's still Record Keeper, and Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is still up. I'm sad that Ever Crisis was the... Oh, no, I'm thinking of First Soldier. I wish First Soldier did better, because I'm not going to lie, like... It wasn't the deepest game, but you threw a Final Fantasy skin on a Battle Royale, and hell, I was in for it. So I would have liked to see that have done better, but what are you going to do? Alas, poor Cloud and Tifa, we knew you well. And to be honest, I'm actually cutting back on... What's EOS? I have no idea what EOS is. I totally misread that. And to be honest, I'm actually counting on an end of service, especially with the current state of that game. Ever Crisis is the remake we asked for, which was wasted on a gacha. The dumbest thing about that remake thing, or about Ever Crisis Zero and everybody, I don't know why, like everybody is... Yeah, I got that, Zero. I totally just like misread that at first. So I was like, what the hell is he talking about? But yeah, end of service, totally there. But the dumb thing with Ever Crisis was that it was a single player game with gacha mechanics, and you had to like unlock and roll and pull further chapters and story beats. And I'm just like, that's an insane idea. Again, like you said, Zero, if you threw Ever Crisis out as like its own independent release, we probably would have had something pretty cool and not terrible. But then they got greedy, as everybody does. Yeah, and Ravul, I agree with that. Crunchyroll has a terrible history with mobile games. Most shut down within 1 to 3 years. What is it? I know there's like it's like all their like anime MOBA like games, like the My Hero Academia things, the Naruto games. I know that. Oh man, there was one I was like sort of interested. Oh, they're coming out with a Shonen Jump like actual MOBA game. I know I've been accidentally dropping that term in this conversation where it doesn't belong, but now I'm using it correctly. But there's like a Shonen Jump MOBA game coming out, 6 or 3-on-3 top-down isometric maps where you pick Shonen Jump characters. That's a game, and I know it had an open beta test, but I haven't heard anything about it since. That's a game that I feel will probably hit EOS very, very, very soon. Yeah, Zero, Ever Crisis is incredibly predatory from what I hear. It is bonkers predatory. Like, if you don't pay to play that game, you're looking at like weeks of grinding to just get anywhere, like story wise. Like it sucks. I hope it all disappears. But I think that is a perfect segue. All this talk of mobile services, all this talk of mobile gaming, all this talk of crap that we're never going to own once it goes away. Let's talk about our title topic tonight, which is the fact that, drumroll please, Ubisoft can kiss my ass. You can kiss my ass just straight up. Like, I am so angry at this news because this is just this is one of the, what am I trying to say here? Like, see, my rage and my like frustration is all bubbling to the top and tongue twisting me. But this is the kind of corporate level greed that makes me so angry, that is just anti-consumerist, which shows that we are in an actual fight between corporations and us, right? Like, I feel, not to get too like meta-political or anything, but I feel that so often it's people focus on like left versus right in terms of politics or whatnot, when really it's class. Not to go all communist, but it's like corporations and all the billionaires versus literally everybody else. They don't care about you, whatever you vote. They just care about their bottom line, and it sucks. And I don't have solutions for it. I just know that it keeps me up at night, man. I rock back and forth while I sip my bottle of Jack Daniels and try to make the pain go away. But yes, exactly, Shinkai. When people feel comfortable directly saying the quiet parts out loud, you know shit is real. Zeros, and I completely agree with that. Like, that is the point we are at now. Like, we have had so many egotistical people, or is that what I want to say? Egotistical creatives is probably the best term, right? Whether they're in charge of movies, comic books, TV, video games, they just say all these things that in a normal, sane world, you would probably keep to your shareholders, keep to your internal memos, keep to yourselves, because you're just going like, hey, check us out. We're the bad guy. We again, the one that always bugs me is I forget who it was exactly, but it was somebody at Marvel. I believe, I think it was a producer on Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I can't remember, but he basically said, oh, we don't like to hire fans of, like, we specifically go out of our way to avoid hiring fans of Marvel Comics and the source material when we do our Marvel movies. And it's just like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, I don't understand. Like, why would you brag about that? But I digress. We're not here to talk about Marvel. That's for Wednesday night, so that's for the 01 stream. What we are here to talk about is video games, right? So let's get into video games. Yes, Timon, exactly. The elites. That is literally, I know so many people use that as a catch-all term, but that is the very real, like, enemy might be too strong of a word, or maybe that's the right word, right? Or I don't know, but that is who is truly crapping all over us. It's not your neighbor who has a separate belief than you. It's the guys who will intentionally inflame that for money. Again, we're not here to talk. We're not here to get into my own version of what insert political show. I don't even know what political shows there are anymore. I don't watch. What is it, like Timcast, Rachel Maddow, Jimmy Fallon. Let's see. So Zero says, like I said, I am glad I have no Ubisoft games. And when I tried to buy one, I got greeted with a shit Uplay service that stopped me from playing Child of Light. I refunded the game on the act. Also, if Ubisoft wants you to own nothing, then I want them to not own my money. So yeah, before we get into this, let's sort of talk about where we are with Ubisoft currently, right? Because as you can see from, so right here, our Steam buddy for tonight is the Prince from the original release of, or the original box art cover for Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, released all the way back in like 2003, right? Original Xbox, PS2, GameCube, all that fun stuff. PC, duh. But that is to say, so the reason I picked the Prince is not just because we're talking about Ubisoft, but in relation to them in particular, this is like one of my favorite Ubisoft games probably ever made. Like this era in particular for them was insanely good. This was the era of, obviously, you know, Prince of Persia, but you also had, oh my gosh. Splinter Cell, the Tom Clancy games were popping off during this era. You know, you had the very first Rainbow Six Sieges. There were really good games in the like early 2000, or what is it? Early to late aughts. I guess we can just say the OOs, the aughts, whatever you want to say it. Obviously, and then, you know, not to mention the fact that while I'm not a giant fan of the series itself, we also did get out of them the Assassin's Creed series, right? I know a lot of people like that, even outside of normies, like, right? Like, I know it's a big, very, very big franchise. People do like it. And then, you know, Just Dance, big, again, huge party game hit. It's one of those like mwah, you hit that sweet spot between casual and video game, and everybody loves it, and you support it properly. Like, that game does so well, they still make Wii copies of it because they know Wii players still want to buy it, and it's not really that hard to make new editions of, right? The graphics aren't complicated. You just throw in some new tracks, bada bing, bada boom. But so for a while there, Ubisoft, I wouldn't say they were an incredible right home, you know, the best of the best developer, but they were solid. They were really good. They were, you know, they showed that they had the chops. There was also, what was it? That incredible Rayman Origins, right? Like, that game was fantastic. And in here, I just pulled up a list of, like, Ubisoft games. And, you know, Rocksmith, Guitar Hero. Was Guitar Hero that? No, I think Guitar Hero was somebody else, right? But, yeah, and then you had, you know, the first... I don't like the franchise now. I think it's gotten way too up its ass with open world mechanics, but at least as far as the first two games go, when it comes to Far Cry, those games were great. So you had going into like the 2010s, you had a studio that was I would honestly say that they were the video game equivalent of FX. And if you know me, or if you've ever watched me on Bounding or here, you know that that's actually a pretty high compliment coming from me. Because what I mean when I say it feels like it was produced by FX is that this feels like it's not a super big budget production, so it might not have the best script and it might not have the best, you know, effects, but if you watch it, you're gonna enjoy yourself. If you're hanging out with your buddies at a bar or getting food, and somebody goes, "Oh, hey, did you check out Far Cry?" You would go, "Oh yeah, you know what, that was pretty good. Like, that wasn't bad. I like that." And just the same way you would with most of the movies that end up on FX, things like Olympus Has Fallen or half the superhero movies that came out of Fox, right? Those kind, like all the X-Men films, or not all of them, but a lot of them. And and that's how they always felt, which to me I think is good. You don't always need the blowaway productions. Sometimes you just need your mid-budget romp and have fun. There was a game, side tangent, not even really a tangent, but just to prove my point. Earlier, or not even, oh gosh, it's 2024, I forgot. Last year, there was a game called Evil West that was released. It was a very classic, like Xbox 360 third-person action game with little bit of tanky controls, upgrade trees. It was very basic, very short, wasn't the most polished thing, but damn, if I didn't love that game and I wasn't just enthralled to play it and to keep going and see what came next. It had that right level of creativity and that right level of experimentation that you would normally not get in a big production because, we're not going to spend that much money to make something weird that audiences might not like. We're going to stay safe, play it safe, and make another Hawks game. God, those games were so bad, the Jet games from Ubisoft. But that mention of Evil West, I don't believe that was an Ubisoft game. Who did that come from? Let's see. Evil West came from Flying Wild Hog and was published by Focus Entertainment. So yeah, not Ubisoft. I didn't think so. But I bring it up because that's sort of what I always felt Ubisoft was getting at. Then came the 2010s and the advent of online gaming, the advent of DLC. And what happened during this time, at least what I noticed during my time here, is that we went from very solid releases out of Ubisoft to, honestly, guys, just the Assassin's Creed machine. Here's your next Assassin's Creed. Here's your Assassin's Creed multiplayer game. Here's your Assassin's Creed 2.5. Here's Assassin's Creed 2.55. Here's Assassin's Creed 3 Prologue. Like, things like that. They just kept going all in on Assassin's Creed 3. And so here's how I felt at the time. I saw them churning out all these Assassin's Creed games, and then I didn't see any real significant differences between them. Obviously, new characters, new assets, whatever. But, a lot of assets are reused. A lot of the mechanics were reused. A lot of the it felt so lazy, and it felt like they had gotten used to that groove of, we can fart out whatever, and they will buy it. Like, let's just go with that. And then, they hit with Far Cry 3, and it's sort of all of their franchises just started going like that. Gone was the experimentation, the weird things. Now, or even like the solid mechanics. Now here was, let's chase trends, let's chase DLC, let's chase, money, essentially. I don't even know how else to roll into this, but the CEO of Ubisoft takes in like multi-millions of dollars in money every year, like as his personal paycheck. All the while, the dev teams are suffering, the game quality is suffering, the studios under them are going like under, but hey, he gets to take home millions and millions of dollars every year, right? All because the Assassin's Creed machine will print money. And yeah, they had occasional hits here and there. The South Park games were pretty good. There was oh gosh, what was that game called? I'm looking through a list again. Oh, right. The Division was pretty fun. I liked, or at least The Division 2 was pretty fun. I liked that. But Ubisoft just started feeling like just trash, right? Like just, okay, here's more Ubisoft. It's a Ubisoft thing. Nothing special, nothing exciting. They're going to try and wow us and say it's the best next thing. But come on, guys. We know that this is a Ubisoft game. There's nothing here for us. So then but once they hit that point, I feel like that's where they've sort of stayed. In recent years, they've doubled down on rehashing and mastering like every single game in their library. Whatever the hell was going on with Sea of Thieves, like that game is supposed to have been out years ago, and good luck finding literally anybody who could give you a definitive answer as to what the hell is going on with that game's development cycle, right? So that is sort of what I felt. That was my read of Ubisoft coming into like this current debate. I haven't been a big fan of Ubisoft as a developer. Again, they're one of the ones that I have to go a case-by-case basis with. Sometimes they might win, sometimes they might lose, but they have to prove it to me before I take a second to spend my money or give my time to a lazy open world sandbox game, or, pardon me, another Far Cry Tower Climber, things like that. They have to... It's like I always say, there's no reason for us to trust them. They have, show us why we should trust you. And that's just context for the discussion we're about to have. My feelings on where Ubisoft is, and why I think that this is so nebulous, so dumb, so just awful all the way through. But before we get into the actual story about what we're talking about, let's see what the chat has been saying, because obviously I know that you guys have been talking. Let's see. Timon says, if buying isn't owning, then pirating isn't robbing. That's kind of the point, right? Again, pirate away. I don't know. I don't know how much trouble I'll get into, but if a developer will not let you own your purchase, I don't even know what to say. And that's not, it's not even getting into the idea of, what about games that have DRM protection, like all the Capcom games we talked about last week? Or what about games that have, server checks to servers that don't exist anymore? Sometimes the only way to play a game is to pirate it. And that's where the debate starts, unraveling there on out. And obviously, again, going back to our man Gaben over from Steam, over from Valve, as he in his wisdom once recounted, piracy isn't a or what that I want to get this right. Stop going to this specific window. I have other windows open for me to look up things. Gabe piracy quote. Yeah. The easiest way to stop piracy is not by putting anti-piracy technology to work. It's by giving these people a service that's better than what they're receiving from the pirates. So if pirates are letting you actually own your game and they're not making you stay always online or do insane checks or kill your computer's performance with invasive DRM that sometimes leads out to be malware or Bitcoin miners, then yeah, of course people are going to go for piracy, right? That's half the reason Steam makes things. That's why Steam dominates so well. Everybody always tries to accuse Steam of having a monopoly. Oh, look at what they did in the video game online marketplace. They have a monopoly. They pushed out the competition. And it's like, no, other storefronts exist, like Zero brought up, which is something I can't believe I forgot because I wanted to mention this. Like there's Uplay and there's Origin, which is Ubisoft's premier service. It's ass. There's just no way around it. It's not a good service. It's not stable. It's not safe. It's been hacked like twice already. So people's credit card information and all that stuff have been leaked. It's not a good service, but it exists out there. But why? But if I have the chance to go, so here's the thing, right? Like, oh, you put a game on your stupid Uplay Origin service. It sucks. It's awful. You're only forcing me over here because it puts me in your ecosystem and it can get me to spend more money on your products and your services. And you probably get more of a cut of your game if it's sold on there. Understandable, whatever. Stupid for the consumer. But if I can get a better copy over at Steam, then I'm going to go for Steam. Or if it's not available on Steam and you only serve it through your launcher, I have to go through piracy to play it. It's all just completely stupid. But all that, like, my point was, that's why Steam does have the market share it has, the domination it has, because it actually puts effort into making things easy for people, making things work for people. They put games on sale all the time. They regularly do discounts, all that fun stuff. They want to offer you a good service. And so sometimes, more often than not, I'll go through them to buy a game if I'm buying a game. But yeah, I refuse to get Ubisoft's. I refuse to get Uplay Origin, or what's the other one for Fortnite? Like the Epic launcher, because all of these other services, they're not optimized. They have awful store for like just everything I said before, right? They're not good services, so I don't enjoy spending my time there. A better, if we want to take this into the real world, a good analogy is, if I go into a store, I might not buy something, but if it's got everything, if everything's nicely on display and they've got, their deals set up, I'll enjoy browsing. I'll be like, oh, look, and it doesn't really matter what it is, right? Like, oh, that's a nice couch. Like, oh, that's a cool looking chair. Oh, that's a neat lighting fixture. Whatever, right? But if I go into a store where everything looks like crap, I'm not going to want to hang out in there unless I need to be in there, right? Like, we got to go to that store because, they have the only type of nail that we can use for this project, but and we got to pay in cash because their register's always broken, yada, yada, yada. Right? Like, I'm exhausted just thinking of this hypothetical situation, and I didn't actually even do anything. But yeah, so again, piracy it all boils down to service, whether that's the actual service like the platform you buy it on, or the service as in how is the product presented to you. It all boils down to that. Like presentation is so key. Caring for your customers is so key. If you just throw stuff out there, if you just fart out art or words or whatever onto a page, people will notice. You might not think so, but people will go, this is lower quality. Why do I want to be here? Right? Maybe oftentimes, if Epic was better and it was equal, that would just boil down to a question of preference, right? Like it is with credit cards or cell phones. Oh, I prefer Apple. I prefer Android. Okay, whatever. Oh, I prefer Visa over MasterCard. Okay, whatever. But because they all essentially offer close to the same level of service. Whereas here, it's the difference between getting like a phone that works and a phone that you have to watch an ad every time you want to make a call, and every text costs 5 cents no matter what your data plan is. Just stupid nickel and diming up and down the road. Ravul brings up Rainbow Six 3, incredible game. Timon says Assassin's Creed is dead since 3, and that's what Zero Dozer said. AC died in 3's ending. So here's where I went with Assassin's Creed. I played the first one. I thought it was fun. I thought it was fine. It came off as like that mid-budget, not bad. I enjoyed my time with it sort of experience. And I was intrigued by the whole like ancient aliens technology. I thought the premise was pretty fun, so I wasn't against it. But then, I went to college, university, whatever you guys want to call it. I just got sort of busy. I didn't get to play 2 or all the games that were surrounding it. And then I played 3, and I was so excited for 3 because I thought that setting was so cool, right? Like American Revolution, American Frontier, we rarely get games there. And then that game just turned out to be ass. And which is unfortunate. Again, I wanted to like it. It wasn't the polished experience I wanted, right? Or I think everybody wanted. And so from there, that's where I sort of went, oh, they're just milking this now. They don't really care about improving or making a good series. They're just sort of like yearly installment dropping this, which yearly installments rarely, if ever, at least when it comes to video games, rarely do they ever really pay off, for lack of a better term, right? How long, especially in the modern day and age where, technological advancements aren't shooting up as rapid as a rate as they had back in the jumps from PlayStation 1 to 2 or GameCube to Wii and Wii U. Like we're plateauing a little bit. So every year when you get a new installment, it just feels like, all right, I wish we had more. I know that this is just the next one, but what else is there? Which is why I thought for a while that schedule they had for Call of Duty where it was like Treyarch would work on one entry and then Vicarious would work on a main entry, and that way it was like 2 or 3 year development cycles between games. I thought that was a smart way to sort of do it. So it was like, it didn't seem like there were lulls, but there were, if you know what I mean. But nobody does that anymore. Now I'm pretty sure they're all behind the same damn team. Ravul brings up a game. Yes, I forgot that was actually Ubisoft. Ravul brings up 13 was a great FPS game on the original Xbox. Absolutely was. So sad that they didn't. That was one of the best games to use like a comic book aesthetic. You know what I mean? Sort of like we've all seen Ang Lee's Hulk and how they tried to use like comic book panels as transitions and word bubbles, and it was just really, 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 really weird. Well, 13 does that right. Like for example, what 13 does is, for example, if like there's a throwing knife weapon, right? If I threw the knife and it hit an enemy in the head, above their head, it would have sort of that 3-panel imprint thing where you would see it like close up, hit, head back, and fall. But the entire time they would be doing that normal animation. It just highlighted it in panels. Really cool system. Really good game. I believe they remastered it recently-ish, like 5 years ago, but it wasn't great. It was just sort of like, oh, we're here now. So who knows what they'll do with that. I really do like that game. I should boot that game up. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. Let's see something. I saw something different in the late Assassin's Creed. Shitty story. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like once we got later on, everything started going off the reservation. I bring this up in most Assassin's Creed discussions because I cannot believe how fucking batshit it is, just to be honest. Which is that whole Isu plot that started in Assassin's Creed 1 that motivated like all the first 4 games, I think, right? With Desmond and all that stuff. That got wrapped up in a comic book. Like, and not a main comic book, but like the third in a trilogy of comic. Like, it's so weird, right? Like, they just shoved. It's the equivalent of putting the Palpatine return event for Star Wars in Fortnite. Like, what the hell are we doing? What was this? What was the logic here? Did you really think that this was going to pay off the dividends you thought it was? I don't think it ever did. Yeah, Revol, exactly. Ghost Recon Breakpoint requires an internet connection to the Ubisoft servers to play the game. That's the kind of stuff that will encourage people to pirate your games, because more often than not, that doesn't just apply to multiplayer. It applies to your single player too. You know, they want to. It's all about. They want you online so that they can run constant checks to say that your copy is valid, that you actually paid for it, that you're not pirating, but in the end, it results in things like this. And whether the truth of the matter is, life finds a way. If people want to play your game and they don't want to go through your crap, they'll find a way to crack it. They'll find a way to distribute it, and they'll find a way to host their own servers that don't require your bullshit. I mean, one of my favorite, if not my favorite MMO of all time, City of Heroes. That game has not had official support for nigh on 15, 16 years now. But there has been a pirate server of the game up and running for years. And I think like multiple of them. People have found ways to play the game, and nobody's giving NCSoft money because this is all hosted on everybody else's dime. But that all led Ubisoft to, or not Ubisoft, NCSoft a couple weeks ago to say, okay, let's partner with you guys. Let's make that official so that we can finally start, making money off of this, because clearly there's an interest here. My boy Flex, always nice to see Flex. Flex says, remember when Microsoft tried pulling the shit with the original Xbox One, then walked it back after getting called out on it? Pepperidge Farm remembers. I love that you bring that up, Flex, because I think that ties in directly with what Shinkai said earlier, which with the whole people feel comfortable directly saying the quiet parts out loud now, right? Because you're right. In case you guys don't remember, with the advent of in the lead up to, or during the announcement of the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 era, Microsoft said that the Xbox One was always going to be online. You had to always be online to play our games, no matter what. If you wanted to use the console for anything, even a single player game, you had to be always online, which of course was completely stupid for a multitude of reasons. Maybe you don't have that bandwidth. Maybe you live in a place that doesn't have that great of a server support. Maybe you're mobile, right? Like, not to pull the very cheap like Americana card, but what about our troops? There are a lot of troops out there in like Iraq and stuff, or were in Iraq and stuff, that, you know, have PlayStations or Xboxes and they play it during their downtime, because what the hell else are you going to do? So screw them, right? But that debacle was so bad to the point where you had PlayStation outright mocking them. This was one of my favorite moments of all time, where as part of that always online deal, Microsoft also said, like, yeah, you can't share games with people because we're always going to be running a check that the account that bought the game did it, blah, 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 blah. So PlayStation just outright came out with a video saying, here's how you share games on the PlayStation. Take your physical disc, you hand it over. Like, it was such an insane burn. And to what Flex is saying, it got so heated that eventually Microsoft went, yeah, we are so stupid. We're like, we didn't need to do this. We're taking this feature off of Xbox. You can play offline. But now we've gotten back to the point where they are openly bragging about it being the future of their industry, as we'll get into. Yeah, Timon, price is also key. Price is also key, but that's also relates to the service you're getting it on, right? You know, if, you know, I'll pay $70, or no, I don't want to say that. No, I refuse $70 games. I was thinking like collector's editions, but like I will gladly pay $60 for a nice physical copy of a video game that I own, that has no digital codes, that I can just pop in at any point in the future and just go, right? I won't pay $60 for a game that's just on digital, because of, you know, as we've seen before, you don't own this shit. They can turn off servers, they can take away your accounts, they can do whatever they want at the drop of a hat, at the turn of a dime, at their own whims. They don't care. So what am I trying to say there? Like, yes, price also does pay that. Because, yeah, like, if you're going to go, like, for example, right? This is perfect. I paid full $60 price for Mega Man Battle Network Collection on Switch, because I know that I can open, the game's in my Switch right now, but I know that I can open it, I can pop this bad boy into my Switch, and I can just roll with it. It doesn't matter if I'm offline, it doesn't matter if it's 40 years from now. I can open it up. Well, I mean, cartridge battery and Switch batteries might die, but those problems aside, in a perfect world, 20, 30 years from now, I can still pop this bad boy in and I can play it. Now, they charge the exact same price, $60, for both, for the package on Steam. I refuse to pay it there for the sole reason that there's too much, you know, I don't know if I'll always hold on to that copy. I don't have anything here that guarantees me, even though I trust Steam out of every marketplace, I wouldn't pay more than $40 for it, right? That to me seems like a fair price for it. If you're going to keep it at 60 forever, or God forbid they did something stupid where they were like, oh, the digital only release is going to be $80, then, oh, you bet your sweet ass that if I couldn't get it here, it would have been pirated immediately. So yeah, price definitely does play into that. Let's see. Hey, Tehillim, shalom, and good to see you. Been a little busy today, going to the city to collect my comic book haul. Hey man, what did you get this week? I want to know. Let me know what you got this week, because there's a very specific book I read and that I might bring up, but I'll only bring it up if you've read it, because I need at least one person here to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, let me know your pull list. I was really surprised by this book. I'll let you guys all know what it is, but I also just want to tell them to play. Let's play a game. Continuing on. Ravul says the remaster was done by a different studio. Yeah, I knew that for 13. It was done by a different studio, and that's why it wasn't great. Like, it was fine. It was fine. It works. You can play it. It loses a little bit of the charm, but it's not a disaster, right? Yeah, Ghost Recon Wildlands was incredible, and then they ruined it with Breakpoint's live server connection, and that's what I mean. You had that period where Ubisoft they were making solid, fun entries that people wanted to play, that people would happily throw their money and time into, and then they lost sight of it. Then they got greedy, and I guarantee, if we had the time, and maybe if I had another co-host here to vamp, if I went and looked, I bet we could find some significant personnel change that happened in that time that led to that sort of change in philosophy, right? In going so hard into monetization, DLC, extra like entries, right? Is that what I'm trying to say? Like side entries into things. Assassin's Creed 2.5, you know what I mean? So I bet we could definitely find that. I bet that is definitely there. Tehillim says, not fond of the new Prince of Persia game. Which one are you talking about? Oh, are you talking about Lost Crown, the one that's in the thumbnail? So yeah, and he's actually right here too. So in addressing this, it's not really part of the story. It's just I also did want to talk about this game because obviously I use it as the featured image there. I used it as a featured image here, but so one thing I remember. What am I trying to say? Here's my entire take on the game. When it was first announced, I was super upset because I thought, wow, they one, they race swapped the prince, and two, they gave him a Killmonger design, which is like, you have so many better designs to pick from that time period than this. However, as time went on, I learned that he is not the prince. He's an unrelated character to the prince. He's like a side character who's actually like trying to find the prince. So that eased my fears there. And from what I'm hearing from pretty much everybody that I follow, this game apparently is really good. Like, it plays really well. Apparently, it's a fantastic side scroller. So you're the first person, to him who I trust, who I know, that has said that they didn't like that game. So I'm more interested to play it now. Like, this is on my list to play this weekend. At least boot it up once, see if I like it. Maybe I'll have to refund it, but I want to check out this game because everybody's clamoring for it, and good solid 2D platformers, very hard to come by nowadays. And those are some of the just most pure lose yourself into a video game type of game design that currently exists. Let's see. Yeah, and if your game is boring, people will not pirate it or mod it. Starfield. My favorite thing about that, Timon, is I forget the exact name of the mod, but there was a big Skyrim mod that's like Skyrim Life or something. Like, it's one of the main ones that you would download if you were going to mod Skyrim. It's huge. It revamps everything. But those creators said, oh, we're going to do the same sort of mod, but we're going to do it for Starfield. Don't worry. They got like 2 months into development, and they outright went, yeah, this game is so ass. Like, we don't want to work on it anymore. And the quote that sticks with me, because I love it so much, was, if Bethesda isn't going to put effort into their game, why should we? And I was just like, oh, brutal. And so, yeah, all that to say, your game still has to be good for people to care. Yeah, Tehillim, Tehillim. See, I thought it was a race swap too, but it's not. See, it's a character named Sargon. It's not the prince. It's completely different. So that eased my big fear there. If the game can deliver gameplay, I'm maybe it'll rule. Maybe I'll love it. Yeah, and Timon, as he points out correctly, Xbox never recovered from that borrowing F up. It really hasn't. I genuinely think that was probably one of the biggest reasons they're in the pit they are right now, right? Because at least anecdotally, and maybe the actual sales numbers, especially if we take in the globe with Japan, are different, but everybody I knew had an Xbox 360. Whether you were rich, you were poor, you were a family person, you were a single person, you were a girl, you were a boy, you were Asian, black, white, like everybody I knew growing up, that 360 was the console of choice. It was the cheapest one. It got all the games. It had a better online offering. Like, it sucked that Xbox Live costed money, but again, the offering was a better ecosystem than what PSN was offering at the time. You had better friends list, better, again, service issue, right? But then, so I genuinely thought that, 360 was gonna, it killed that generation. Xbox. What am I trying to say? Let's put it this way. There was a genuine point where I was torn between, am I going to go Xbox One or PlayStation for the next generation? How am I going to, carry on? Let's see what's, the console wars begin again. And then that debacle happened, and they became so ridiculed that I genuinely think that it pushed so many people to PlayStation 4 that it just sunk their plans to ever earnestly compete in the sphere. As we all saw from the Xbox leaks months ago, it was like the second or third episode of this show where we covered it. But in those leaks, Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, straight out admitted, like, oh yeah, we are losing the console wars very hard. Like, it's not even close. Like, we don't even compete in the same range as Nintendo or Sony. Like, we are basically just here, right? And so, yes, I agree with that read, Timon. I also think that we could probably find genuine evidence to say, like, that happened. Oh my God, Ravul, you bring up one of the worst trends of all time, right? So Ravul brings up the Halo 5 Legendary Collection was supplied with a digital download card and steel case, while the Standard and the Heroic Edition was supplied with a disc. That has become one of the dumbest trends in video games in general, right? It's collector's editions that either are digital download codes, physical releases that are digital download codes in general, or they're special collector's editions that don't have the game whatsoever. That's why you have to be so careful nowadays. If you, first of all, don't pre-order video games, never pre-order video games. But if you are pre-ordering a video game, probably to get whatever pre-order bonuses they have, like statues or physical collector's items, always check like the fine print, because dollars to donuts, it's probably going to say, copy of the game not included in this edition, or whatever they want to say, right? So let's see, where was I even going with that one? But yes, I hate that trend. It's all about nickel and diming people and squeezing every last cent they can out of their whatever consumer base they have left. And that's why, I mean, like, something eventually will have to give. You know, we'll get into that, but obviously we'll probably get into it deeper when we get to the later into the topic and actually read what Ubisoft had to say. But it's one of the reasons I want a video game collapse to come as soon as possible, or an industry collapse. Sorry, not the medium, but the industry. Pardon me. Woof. Tehillim said, though, if they wanted to create... So, Tehillim's having a side conversation with me here, which I appreciate, and I'm having it with you, Tehillim, don't worry. But on the topic of why he didn't like this Prince of Persia, it's because the race-swapped character, and he's bringing up that, you know, he said, thank goodness they didn't do that for Ninja Gaiden yet. And then he says, if they wanted to make a black character who was a protege to Ryu Hayabusa, I'd be in for that. And yes, I think that... so again, I think that's what happens here. I could be wrong as far as I know, but I'm 98% confident from what I remember that this is that sort of side protege character to the Prince, and the Prince is still the elite badass. But the Ninja Gaiden games, I almost don't really care if we get another one, because that trilogy is one of the finest just collections of video games ever made. And while they reduced in quality slightly over time, right, and that's not even true. It was only just it went 1 is here, 2's here, 3 does a slight dip down, but still fantastic. They're some of the most precise, most just video games. I just love those games. And so I don't know if we ever really need another one, unless you put somebody who really knows what they're doing, like the Devil May Cry team, and not specifically them, because they're obviously Capcom, but people with that level of fight, combat philosophy, video game philosophy. You got to get somebody like that in there to do those sort of games, if you ever did one. But I think just keep remastering those ones. Give them the occasional shine up every 5 years with new shiny graphics. That's all you got to change. Don't change models, just make the graphic fidelity better. And I think people would be in for those games forever. Plus, there's also the fact that there's a market for the fact that they released the Ninja Gaiden collection like 2 years ago. They released it censored. So like a lot of the blood is cut down, a lot of the attacks, dismemberment. It's really dumb. So release, but again, bringing everything to our pirating conversation, that's a service thing, right? If your service is taking away things from me that were originally in the game that I liked, I'm pirating it. the best example of that, or rather the strongest cautionary tale to that I think I can ever bring up is Skullgirls, right? Because if you guys don't remember, or if you don't know, Skullgirls is a 2D fighting game, independent fighting game. It was made by like Alex Ahad, a lot of fighting game community members. Like it's beautiful, it's very stylish, but it's one of its main draws is that its characters were all very attractive women. The mechanics were also fantastic, but so come for the gameplay, stay for the fantastic waifus. And so over time, things happened. The game ownership transferred out of the hands of the original creators. The original team is all gone, blah, 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 blah. Last year, the team that's currently in charge of the game censored the Steam version of the game, removing panty shots, cutting down like cleavage shots. But most egregiously, they were actually able to censor the digital art book that came with the 2014 release of that game, that people paid money for, pre-ordered specifically because they wanted that, have been going back to and referencing. They went in and they censored some of the more sexy images in there because, we want our game to reach a bigger audience because we're a bunch of lily fucks. Like, it's so... That right there should be all the reason to avoid this future, right? Let's see. Ravul says Xbox 360 lost to the PS3 because the industry went with Blu-ray over HD DVD. Well, that's a little bit of a different situation because at the time it was, and I remember this is why it was so, because I was in the middle of this. It was which format are we going to go with, right? I remember that was a big deal. It was like, are we going to go with the HD DVD on Xbox? Are we going to go with Blu-ray on PlayStation? And yeah, you're right. Eventually the industry went with Blu-ray and that killed 360. But for a year, maybe, there was a good period where it was a competition. I have a friend he's my best friend. He's a huge, he's really enthusiastic about developments in technology. So he's an early adopter type of person. And when he got his 360, he's one of the few people I know who had the actual HD DVD drive attachment thing. You know what I'm talking about? And actually had a collection of HD DVD. He actually might still have them. And they might be, I wonder if they're actually worth something as a collector's item. He has a kid now. He could probably use that money. Let's see. Yeah, exactly, Ravul. The purple blood on Ninja Gaiden Sigma. And yeah, Team Ninja won't let that happen. I agree. A boy can dream, can he not? Ninja Gaiden does have some badass female characters. They're definitely not pushovers. Obviously, you've got the Ninja Gaiden crew there, or the Dead or Alive crew of Kasumi and Ayane. You've got Rachel, who rules. I love Rachel as a character. She is actually... here, just in case people don't know who Rachel is, and because I kind of want to give context as to why people don't like her nowadays, even though she's a very good, strong, depiction of a female character. But yeah, this is why people don't like it. Thank you, Deviant Art Modeler, who can provide this with us. So this is Rachel. Clearly a super sexy femme fatale, a mix of samurai and European culture. She's a really fun character. She one thing I like about her is that she uses this big axe, but she also uses handguns and modern weaponry. She's sort of like the she's not better than Ryu. She's just more what's the right word? She's better acclimated with the situation that he's finding himself in, so she's able to give him early pointers, hey, don't do that, let me help you here, blah blah blah. She's not better than him, she just has more experience with the current situation, and then as time goes on, obviously they come to be equals and blah 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 blah. There was a game called Warriors Orochi 3, which was it's from Koei Tecmo, Team Ninja. It's a crossover between Dynasty Warriors and what the hell is the other one? oh my god, it's Dynasty Samurai Warriors, Dynasty and Samurai Warriors. But in three, in the Ultimate Edition of three, Koei Tecmo went nuts and they added a bunch of like guest characters from their other games. So that includes Ryu Hayabusa. It includes Rachel here. It includes Joan of Arc from 99 Nights. It includes oh my gosh, his name's not Siegfried. What the? They did. Team Ninja did a very so for the Xbox. There was Koei Tecmo did a Western flavored Muso game, right? Essentially with the design philosophy of Westerners don't really like Muso games. Let's get them into it by making one more to their taste. And they based it on like Sparta. What is it? I think it's like Sparta, Fall of Troy or something like that. But the main character from that game is in Orochi. All that to say, I like Rachel. Bring her back. Keep putting her in more stuff. I played one of the specific reasons I played Orochi 3 was because I knew that I could play as her, and I was excited to do that. Let's see. Like they should have done with Final Fantasy VII, just make it prettier, but no, they had to change everything. And I know Revul, I'm done with Square Enix or DEI department, have to be publicly named and shamed. Obviously, that, like, what do I want to say here? Because I have thoughts on the topic, but I also just feel like I run back into the same point as I always do, which is, name them, shame them, but that's all we can really do right now. I don't know. It's such a... We've known about the Square ethics department for a while. I know we had that new interview from Yoshitori Katori. I'm saying his name wrong. Katane, the director of Rebirth, talking about he didn't like the old social depictions. I actually have not read that interview yet. I've been way too busy this week to check out Ryan's article over on Bounding Into Comics, so I'm not fully informed on the topic. I know some people have said it might be a mistranslation. I don't know, but suffice to say, we'll probably get into Square Enix and all of their shenanigans as we get closer to the release date for Rebirth, which is just couple weeks away now, right? It's like the middle of February, something. Yeah, Yoshinori Kitase. I thought I had it right, but then I confused myself and I chickened out and main Final Fantasy producer around since 5. That's why, like, with that interview, I genuinely have to wonder what the actual context is, what all that is. I just got to look into it before we get into it. But we probably will. Don't even worry. Yeah, to Hillam, really enjoyed the early Dynasty Warrior games. So, Muso games are like probably one of, if not my favorite genre of video game after like fighting games, because in Muso games, I feel like that's where you get a real sense of like, I am just beating enemies, like I am just super strong. One of my favorite ones is their One Piece series, and truly, Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja are the only ones who really do it right? Like, but every time they do, we get amazing outings like the One Piece Pirate Warrior series. We get Hyrule Calamity Warriors. We get all these fun takes that make you just feel that sometimes you just want to play a video game and you just want to like mow people over. You want to be like, I'm a bat, like I own you, and those games really give you that sense of it. Plus, there's a bunch of different characters, a bunch of different play styles. It doesn't really get old, right? So I definitely love those games a lot. But I highly recommend Warriors Orochi 3 to everybody. It's still a fantastic game. You don't need to know anything about the other series. Just hop in, pick your character, and kick some ass in medieval Japan and China. But Dead or Alive Extreme 2 is such a superior game to modern games. Still playing DOA Extreme Beach Volleyball. Here's my thing. I'm not against those games. I have copies of them all myself. I just don't think they're particularly great video games on their own. It's not, and that's not to say anything about, their content, because I love me my sexy ladies, but I just feel it's good in that sense, in the sort of like dating sim sense, but it's weird in the actual volleyball sense. And then once you get to Extreme, which is just sort of like a visual novel, I just sort of go, all right, I'm going to go on YouTube and I'm going to go find all the cutscenes of all the swimsuits I want. Yes, Ravul, thank you for bringing that up. I can't believe I forgot that, but the Dynasty Warriors Gundam series is a fantastic take on the Muso formula, all the franchises. I lost so many hours of my life to that game. It's couch co-op, so I had a roommate in college. He and I would jam through those all the time. Fantastic games. One of my favorite little details in 3, at least, because I don't know if this first unit is in the other ones, but G Gundam or Burning Gundam from G Gundam. He's in Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3, but accurate to the lore, while everybody else is like super tall and building sized or like towering over building size, he's like that small. He's like so tiny, because that's actually what the G Gundam units are. Like, they're not as big as the other ones. So that's the little tiny like attention to detail that will automatically make me go, yes, you cared about this game. I will check it out. But yeah, well, okay, I was right. Yeah, he's Burning Gundam's only in 3, so that's the one I was talking about. But with all this talk of how much Ubisoft sucks, about how much digital futures suck, let's get into what this actual story is. So, if you guys didn't catch it earlier this week, Ubisoft, they previously offered 3 different streaming subscription services. What was it? It was Ubisoft, or they had 2. It was Ubisoft Plus Multi-Access and PC Access. They've now folded that into one offering, Ubisoft Plus Premium, which is just like, really? You couldn't come up with a more original name than that? We're really just going with the South Park Future naming route, where everything is Plus Max, Super, Plus, whatever. But I digress. So basically, earlier this week, they announced a revamp to their subscription services, kind of like their own internal version of Microsoft Game Pass, but obviously offers a lot less. It offers mainly Ubisoft games, but it in comparison to Game Pass, if you want Ubisoft DLC, or if you want to play the games when they release, like the big hits, Assassin's Creed, whatnot, go with that's why you would use the Ubisoft Premium service. Yada yada yada. That's out there if you want to use it. I personally would not. I personally don't. But in promoting their new offering, the Ubisoft, what is his official title? His name, he is, pardon me, wow. The Ubisoft's Director of Subscriptions, Philippe Tremblay, and remember, Ubisoft is a French company, so that's why it's like that. But, so he came out and he was talking about the offerings, and he gave an interview to GameIndustry.biz in promotion of Ubisoft Plus Premium. And he said the quiet part out loud. Like, there's literally no other way to say that. In this ecosystem where developers are more and more trying to just squeeze every dime out of you, where they'll give you games that aren't finished, they will ship DLC that is already on the discs, all of this just anti-consumer, anti-experience, ecosystem we're in. I don't even know where I was going with that one. But essentially, he was asked, or let me rephrase that. I do know what I was saying. He said the quiet part out loud. All those things I just brought up. He basically said, where once that would have gotten you laughed out of E3 and had your console sales tank, here it ended up, or nowadays, Tremblay is just out here saying this is what we want to do. So Tremblay was talking about the new offerings to GameIndustry.biz's Christopher Dring. And he was Dring basically asked him, walk me through the decision. What led to this choice to merge everything together, to put more of a focus on streaming subscription services? Walk me through that. Let me pick your brain. So Tremblay essentially came back with this. He said, quote, "We looked at the consumer behavior and how people were interacting with our offer." Like, I copy and pasted it like that. That's what he said from the website. We're interacting with our offer, and we saw an opportunity for us to evolve. When we look at how gamers engage with our different games, we see that our back catalog is still very active and alive. So we saw an opportunity to offer these worlds to our consumers for a lower fee. And this is a response to the behavior that we saw from players. When we look at how gamers engage with our different games, we see that our back catalog is still very active and alive. So we saw, oh wow, I definitely doubled up there. I should probably edit that when I'm off stream. So that's what he started with, and then he continued to. Then he added that it was also motivated by the fact that, quote, that in their use of streaming services, they had discovered that they had been, quote, proving to be a way for gamers to access our worlds who perhaps weren't inclined to purchase. These players are brand new. We're shaking hands for the first time. It's been Ubisoft's strategy for as long as I've been here to try and reach more players with the franchises that we have. So I'm happy, as the leader of this product, to be able to deliver on that. And then, from there, Dring of GameIndustry.biz sort of raised the point, which we all know, as evidenced by all of our feelings here. He basically said, players aren't really adopting these streaming services as fast as you guys seem to think they want to. Like, what do you think about that? What is the barrier to mass adoption of streaming services, not just yours, but streaming services in general in the video game industry? And he shot back with the absolute worst thing I think I've ever heard, but let's get into it. He said, quote, I don't have a crystal ball, but when you look at the different subscription services that are out there, we've had a rapid expansion over the last couple years, but it's still relatively small compared to the other models. We're seeing expansion on console as the likes of PlayStation and Xbox bring new people in. On Ubisoft, or on PC, from a Ubisoft standpoint, it's already been great, but we are looking to reach out more on PC, so we see opportunity there. One of the things we saw that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, is having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games. As gamers grow more comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't lose what you've built in the game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. I still have 2 boxes of DVDs. I definitely understand the gamer's perspective with that. But as people embrace that model, they will see that these games will exist, the service will continue, and you'll be able to access them when you feel like. That's reassuring. End quote. So, let us break down every batshit, ridiculous, awful, anti-consumerist thing this jackass just threw out there, right? So, let's start with this little bit up here where I overlapped. Where was that? Damn it. Because I had a point. So this here, the reason they upgraded their services, right? As he details here, when we look at how gamers engage with our different games, we see that our back catalog is still very active and alive. We saw an opportunity to offer these worlds to our consumers for a lower fee. To me, while that sounds like, oh, we're trying to help you with, we're trying to make it better for players. What that reads like to me, if you parse through all the corporate bullshit, which after 10 years of having worked there before joining Bounding into comics and now having to do it for Bounding with Disney and Sony and all their stupid statements, it's pretty obvious, or at least to me, what I think is that this statement is basically saying, people like our old games. Well, why aren't we getting a chunk of that change? You're buying used copies of these old games. You're buying copies off of Steam of these old games that you get to own and you get to hang on to. I don't think so. We want a chunk of that change, right? That's what so that sets the whole ominous tone to me right there. But then I cannot believe this bullshit right here, right? One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to a little bit like DVD having and owning their games. And then his whole thing about, oh, it's not, join our streaming services because it's not about, you won't lose your progress or your saves. It'll always be there, but you just got to get used to not owning it. And then this, this line right here, they got comfortable not owning their CD or DVD collection. That right there, more than probably anything else in this stupid ass statement, signals to me that this is another case of dumbass tech bro huffing up and gassing up whatever new technology is on the market to try and get their ass as a profit. Because that is the only sort of mindset or demographic where that statement would be taken seriously. Because as we've seen in recent years, and this is not just in our niche circles around here, in Bounding or wherever, it is widespread. We have seen an uptick in support for physical media. People want physical media. They want their games not digital. They want to be able to hold it. Again, if we go back to the data always on internet connection thing, one of the reasons why people want physical is because it's much easier to just download a game off of a disc or a cartridge if that's how you're delivering it. Obviously, the optimal way is to have it playable just off the disc, but I'm working with what the current dumb ecosystem is, and that's how a lot of things go. It's much easier to just go, here's my disc, run the files off of that and install it, than, oh, we have to download this 400 gigabyte game, which, like, oh man, I just got like two different lined up there. Come download this 400 gigabyte game so that you can play it on whatever shit internet connection you have. And God forbid if you don't have, fiber optic support, because again, every single fucking video game these days, especially from Western developers like Ubisoft, like Activision, like insert literally anybody here, they are all moving towards, they don't know how to optimize their games anymore, right? Every release that comes out is 400 gigabytes, 300 gigabytes, whatever. It's insane. Whereas I have an entire library of really fantastic PlayStation 3 games. I'm not even going to use my PS2 collection. I'll use my PS3 ROMs and emulators, right? That is maybe a terabyte of data. And that is me being super, super liberal with what it could possibly be, because I don't know. But it's not that much. And it is insane. Nothing you are offering me with, look at how little that shadow looks so much better, right? Isn't that fantastic? That's not worth making it so I can't play any other game on my damn system, right? While I'm playing yours. It's absolutely bullshit. But, people want physical media. And so this is so disconnected. It's so very clearly part of the industry's greed, right? Because that's what this is. Saying, get over your ownership. We want to be able to have total control over what you do at all times. I made a reference to it at the beginning of the article, but this is literally in practice the concept of you will own nothing and be happy. Right? Oh, you can access your games. You can definitely play them all the time, but you don't own them. And at any moment, we can say, hey, Zero, we didn't like that tweet you made. Banned. Hey, Flex, we don't like your username. Banned. Hey, Shinkai, we don't like the fact that, I don't know, how it could go anywhere. We don't like the fact that you didn't watch enough of the Xbox Direct last Thursday. 40-minute ban, things. I mean, that last one's a really ridiculous and absurd one, but that's sort of the road we're going down. And it is just so anti-consumer. They don't want you to be able to access these things without them saying how you can access it, which is so dystopian at its core. If I buy something, it should be mine, right? But nowadays, everybody wants to push to this all digital future, which it's neat. Don't get me wrong, right? Obviously I have some Steam games. Obviously I have some, I use streaming services like Netflix or whatever, which are cool. And I really like the convenience, but I also know at the end of the day that if I really like something, I need to go out and get that crap on physical, because otherwise they're going to say you can only access it here on this device. What happens if they start region locking things? You can only watch this video through this player or like, you can only use this DVD if you're in California, or if you're in Iowa, or if you're in Canada. Like, the possibilities are endless, and literally none of them offer any benefit to us as players, as consumers, as customers. Like, they just offer nothing. I think I had a better point there, but at the end of the day, that's just the bottom line, is they don't offer anything to us, and they only stand to enrich the pockets of those of the upper executives of Ubisoft, who they don't care. They don't care about you being able to access your game. That's ancillary to them. They really just care about saying, you want to play Beyond Good and Evil? Pay us that money instead of, buying it once. Because, like, that really is what it is, especially if we go back to the one, this up here, we saw the opportunity to, or we see that our back catalog is alive, still very active and alive. I cannot help but read that as people are paying $20 to play Beyond Good and Evil and then that lets them play it forever. Why can't they pay us $10 a month to play that game and, by accessing our service? Oh, and of course, they have access to other games, but here's the thing, guys, and I genuinely don't have this is anecdotal and just off the top of my head and pure speculation, and I will keep my eyes peeled for any such information that might come up around it, but I don't know how, while these offerings are huge and incredible for these subscription services, like, let's not lie, Xbox Game Pass is an incredible deal if you want to go down that route. They have almost everything you could want to play. It's fast, it's good, whatever. It's not a sort of lack there. It's, oh no. What the hell was I going to say? Oh, the cold medicine. Damn it. It's finally starting. That was the first time I really blanked hard during this entire stream. But, yeah, oh, right. That's what I was saying. So for all the great offerings, something like Game Pass might have to offer you, let's be completely honest with ourselves, especially if you're checking out more modern titles that take, 40 to 50 hours to complete, especially if there's something like an open world Ubisoft game. You're not really having the time. You're not truly taking advantage of the service in a way that makes the money really or makes the deal that good. With Game Pass, it's a little different because Xbox has just an insane amount of offerings. But over here, something like Ubisoft, I don't see, okay, you offer me all of these old Ubisoft games. Am I actually going to go back and use them? Or is it just going to take up space? And then what happens when I just don't, it doesn't happen to me, but it's obviously a thing because people talk about it all the time. What happens when somebody forgets to just cancel the service, right? And now they fell out of playing video games or whatever, and now it's 40 years down the line, and they just realize, oh crap, I've been paying $200 a year extra for nothing, right? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Whereas if he'd have just bought Beyond Good and Evil 3 or Beyond Good and Evil for $20, $10, it's his. He can play it whenever, and if he doesn't play it ever again, it's only $10 down the drain. It's not just this ever revolving addition to their coffers. If Tremblay here had come out and he'd have said something along the lines of, we are really going for it. We really want to make our subscription offering better, but it's not a replacement for physical. We just want to offer somebody, players a different avenue with which to enjoy our games. I really genuinely don't think anybody on this planet, okay, I take that back. I probably would have had an issue with it regardless because I just hate streaming services. But I think he wouldn't have landed Ubisoft in as much hot water as he has at this point. You know what I mean? Because this is just to say we basically don't want you to have ownership over your products, that we want to take a right away from you, even though, a consumer right, but a right nonetheless. That's going to turn people off. It's going to set people away. It's going to set you up to fail. And it's so disheartening, but I also don't really know. Here's why a lot of my attempts to offer a sort of statement on this move end with me just sighing, which is because it's because I have already tuned out of Ubisoft games. These games don't have anything to offer to me. I don't enjoy them. I don't like any of their real offerings. So when they announce this, it's just sort of, to me, it's a vindication that yes, this is exactly why I don't play Ubisoft games. I don't know how, the general populace is probably going to react to this. I think the more we start talking in terms, the more we have reports like GameIndustry.biz, like us, like anybody else who is out there covering what they're actually saying, the more we can tear down and break through the corporate narrative. Like, don't let the corporate narrative become the actual narrative, because if that happens, then the narrative is, oh, this is a great benefit to let players access our game, and all that marketing talk will unfortunately work on some people, just like it always does if you're a used car salesman or whatever. It will work, and it's predatory, and I can't. This is why I want a video game collapse, right? And this is sort of something I touched upon earlier. I touched upon this in, I want to say, almost every stream, but we are so far gone in the realms of video games where we've lost sight of what the medium truly should be. The medium now is essentially, what do you call it? It's Hollywood. You have billions of dollars of budget that go to highly paid celebrity actors that go, and then the sales expectations are always sky high. Everything has to sell billions worth of dollars, and then the products are just getting worse all the time, and they're just trying to squeeze more money out of us. There is nothing here. That's why, if a game comes out and it has solid gameplay, I will praise it, I will hold on to it, and I will shout it to the world, because they are so rare nowadays. I mean, that's why Tears of the Kingdom, just a fantastic offering. It's all there. $60. No nickel and diming, no subscription services. If you bought the game, it's your game. Obviously, if you bought it digitally, there might be a couple hoops you have to jump through there for proof of ownership. But I digress. It's yours. You're not subscribed to anything. And it's something worth playing. It actually offers you something to do with your time, not just... A lot of these games, I keep using the word ecosystem a lot, right? Especially on this stream. And I use that word specifically because that is what a lot of these games are nowadays. They're not specifically games. They are ecosystems. They are hubs with which you are supposed to interact with their world, their monetization, their offerings. And in this ecosystem, they get to, determine all the rules. They get to say, we're going to spend millions on production budgets. We're going to go off our asses, all that kind of stuff. And there's just, it's so controlled. It is an ecosystem because everything has to live and thrive within it. Once one bad idea gets planted in there, it spreads to everything else that's already been in there, whether it's microtransactions, DLC, always online, just streaming services, anything like that. So that's why, in light of the fact that we've gotten to this point, I do believe, just like we saw in the 1980s, we need a video game crash. Yes, it will be painful, and a lot of people will leave, a lot of undeserving people will lose their jobs. The people who actually work on the games, the modelers, the sound designers, whatever. But as an industry, it can't keep operating like this. You cannot... Again, I brought this up I brought this up last week, but the best example of why the industry cannot survive like this is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. That game has been in development for years because it had an extremely bloated ambitions. It has a giant budget, and yet, because it took so long, because their ambitions were so high, the game is releasing at a time when the ecosystem, to use that word again, has left it behind. There is nothing in that game that gamers are clamoring for right now. Maybe if this was, again, 2014, 2016, you would have gotten a lot more interest, but everything in that game is so outdated, and there's nothing they could do about it. By the time they showed us that first trailer or gameplay showing in like last year, and it was met with widespread rejection, and everybody basically said, no, we are out. We don't want anything to do with this. As soon as that, they delayed it, but there is nothing they could do. They could not scrap 7 years of work to just start all over, right? Whereas if you go back and you look at old game like interviews and design documents and all of that sort of stuff, you will see that there are times when they ran into creative spots and they just went, shit, this isn't going to work. We got to reboot. Or not reboot, but we got to go back to page one because it's just not working out for us. And that can't happen anymore because once you get to that point, you've already sunk $700 million into it. And you just can't go, okay, nobody's going to take that loss, especially at a time when your parent company, Warner Brothers, is bleeding money. And that's not just Warner Brothers, but every conglomerate out there. We need this collapse because it's essentially the only way I think that we will return to an era where gameplay matters, where they actually remember that they need to impress us and get us on board instead of just expecting us to buy whatever slop they shit out on the table. And that's really where we're at, where, how often are we met, a game comes out, people criticize it, and then you have developers coming out going, oh, why are you, so hard on us? What about all the work we put into? You're being so mean, you're harassing us. And it's like, look, obviously, yeah, there are some people who will always take it overboard because that's just the way of the world. There are people like that on your side too. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to listen to why your shit isn't working and not just expect us to go, oh, you did your best, so we'll pay you $70 to hate myself, essentially. I don't know what other feeling I'm going to have, if any, when I eventually play, if ever, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. But that collapse needs to come. This all needs to end. It just... They took it all these companies, they took their successes for granted, and success became expectations, and success is not granted to you, right? It's earned. You have to earn it, and you're not doing that, and you haven't been doing that for a long ass time. And so, especially Ubisoft. So, all in all, this is absolutely bad. Call it out whenever you see it. Do not let them establish this as a norm. Don't let this just walk away as, because if we don't raise hell over this, it's just going to become normalized. So one thing, I don't think you guys need to know this in particular. I don't think I'm teaching anybody a new lesson, but it's something I just want to throw out there in case, just to keep us all on the same page. But more often than not, when something like this happens and it's met with a giant shitstorm back, it's not really an accident. These are intentional for lack of a better term, they're intentional case studies to see how would our player base react to this happening. Oh my God, we're staying on the topic of Ubisoft. I think, in case you guys didn't know, or you may remember, when Mirage came out last month in December and everybody was playing Assassin's Creed Mirage, it was one player discovered that while he was going through the start menu in his single player game, he got an ad for some other Assassin's Creed game. I think for Origins or something, right? He got a straight up, he was just going through his map and he went to he hit the bumper to go to another menu and an ad popped up. He could close it immediately, but it was still there. And after that came out, everybody rightfully, raised hell, and Ubisoft came out and said, oh, that was an accident. We did not mean that. That was totally a bug. We're so sorry about that. We would never do that. But I guarantee you, had, the majority of players just gone, huh, that's weird, we would be getting more and more of that. And so we have to keep on them. I know it's exhausting and tiring because they pull the same shit every other day, but you've got to stay on them. Otherwise, we're just... I don't know a more bleak future for video gaming than where we are now, where everything has to be the same flavor of sad dad emotional therapy simulator, and everything has to be Justice League, God of War Ragnarok style gear systems, and they, ecosystems that are designed to keep you there and locked in so that you have more incentive to spend money on their shit. It's already so bleak that this is maybe, this doesn't surprise me, but it also wouldn't surprise me if this becomes an industry push. That's just where we are now. And that's why something has to give if we're ever if in the next couple years. It just has to. We cannot keep treating every single production like it's Avatar: The Way of Water, which is exactly what they're doing. That all said, let's see what you guys are saying, because I know I've been ranting for 30 minutes now. Let's see. Zero says, this is the kind of retarded shit someone from the WEF would say. Exactly. That's why, as you'll see right here, I straight up linked, in offering his support to the dystopian concept of you will own nothing and be happy. And I linked the now deleted column from the WEF's website, or from Forbes, from the World Economic Forum, that raised it all in the first place. Like, this is what it is, and it sucks. And that's why the more they take things away from you, the more they demoralize you, the more you get dehumanized, right? Like, it's not good. I can't tell you to what extent the dehumanization is taking place. I'd probably have to go talk to my good boy Jacob and pick his brain over that. But, pardon me. Essentially, they're reducing us from actual people to numbers and ATMs with which they can make an easy withdrawal every year or two with whatever slop they drop on us. Shinkai says, you'll be able to access it when you feel like it. Fine print if we allow it and didn't change it. That's exactly what's going to happen. And we have seen so many examples, and not necessarily in video games, but just in culture and society in general, of arbitrary changing to terms of service that lock you out of your purchases, right? To the point where it's not a paranoid, like, or what's the right term? Not paranoid, but like, it's not a hypochondriac reactionary fear, like everybody going, oh my gosh, and there's no basis for it. It's more, we've seen it happen. We're just waiting for that hammer, or like for that other shoe to drop, right? So, what was I saying to that? The one I remember is recently PlayStation, they shuttered their entire TV like retail market, like on PSN, and in doing so, they just straight up said, no, you're because of the Warner Brothers Discovery model. Discovery was taking all of their stuff that they had once sold on the PlayStation PSN marketplace. They took those shows and stuff, those seasons, off the streaming service. But that went retroactively as well, so that people who had already bought these these like seasons of shows, and these were not like obscure things, which wouldn't make it any better, but it's just sort of driving the point home. But these are shows like Mythbusters, right? Like that Sword and Shield show that everybody like Torqued by Fire or something like that. Forged in Fire, I think is what that show is. Like, really popular shows. If you had bought them before that date, before Warner Brothers Discovery made that announcement, it didn't matter. You couldn't access it anymore because the rules had changed, just straight up. Apple did it a couple years ago with some movie purchases. I believe they were Sony Sony purchases, because I believe the Spider-Man movies sort of got dragged down, and a lot of people found those removed, like the Tobey Maguire trilogy were just removed from their libraries. And then, of course, if we're going meta again, or at least not meta, but real world, the Canadian truckers, regardless of where you stand on their politics, whether if you support them, whether if you think they're dumb, whatever, it doesn't matter. You should be worried about the fact that the Canadian government was able to just go shut their bank account for protesting, for voicing their opinion, which is just so scary. You already went nuclear. Why are we supposed to believe that you wouldn't do it again? Right? Like, that's essentially how I feel about this situation. Ravul says, I'm still playing games on my original Xbox and PS2 because I can't be bothered with connecting to a live server. See, I don't have any of those old consoles still hooked up, but I have all those ROMs ready to go, like in emulators, like whatever. They're fun. Like, I have them here, or let me rephrase that. I have the ROMs and emulators because all of my other games and stuff are packed away just in boxes somewhere, but I still want to play them. So I'll just, rip them, throw them on here. Happy trails, right? Ravul says, I'm replaying the Tenchu series on PlayStation. Great series. I'm so sad that series is pretty much dead. Like, they're just done with it. I know we got one like a year or two ago, but it wasn't that great. It was fine, or it might have been longer than that at this point. It might have been like a decade at this point. When was Shadow Assassin? That was on like 360. Shit, it's going to be way back. I wish we could get like a collection of those games, because so a lot of people always talk about like, oh, do you like stealth genre video games? And I'm like, is it really a genre if you've only really got 3 representatives, which is Metal Gear Solid, Splinter Cell, and Tenchu? And now that Tenchu's out of the mix, it's like, can we really call it a genre if there's only... Well, neither Splinter Cell doesn't do stealth anymore, and Metal Gear Solid's dead, so the genre does not exist. But those are great games. I'm really jealous that you're taking the time to fly through them, because I wish I had the time. Yeah, Tehillim says, I hope Ubisoft gets a lot of backlash. Tehillim says, I hope Ubisoft gets lots of backlash on this. Again, I do too. It's looking like they are, because, you know, that mention of don't let the corporate narrative become the narrative. All the headlines and all the coverage I'm seeing on this news, even from places like IGN and other corpo shilly sites, it's all highlighting that statement about you will, you know, get comfortable not owning your games. And I'm pretty sure when people say, in general, people don't like being told we're going to come take your shit, and you don't, you know, just baseline, doesn't matter what it is. Human beings do not like that. Ravul says, Ghost Recon Breakpoint was the last Ubisoft game that I purchased. I don't know. I could not tell you the last Ubisoft game I actually purchased. Maybe The Division 2. I got that right when the pandemic started, because my friends and I needed something to play inside, and it was on sale for like $5. So I guess that, but that's sort of like an asterisk situation, because it was more purchased out of necessity just to have something to do with my friends, rather than I actually really want to play this game. In terms of that category, I don't think I can tell you the last time I got super hyped for a specific game, if that makes any sense. Yeah, and like to what I was saying, that's why I haven't bought anything from them in ages. Like, I hear the name Ubisoft, and I just straight up blank out. Like, I do not want anything to do with their crap, because they just haven't had anything that's impressed me in the last, 20 years or so at this point. Like, that's bad. Yeah, Flex says, bring back installation discs and CD keys. Like 100% dude. Installation discs, like, that's what I want back the most. I am so sick of games that are essentially download, like, it's just your key, because then you still have to download the entire fucking thing from a server. I remember you have to go through that with Metal Gear Solid 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, and Devil May Cry 5, which are like 3 games that I spent a lot of time with, and it just always makes me angry, because that goes back to that whole point, that is essentially making you stay always online, right? If you need a day one update for a game, or you need a patch for it, if you can't play your game right out of the disc, or like right out of the package, they have you by the balls. And that's what sucks. That's why I tend to, at least nowadays, try, if I'm buying a physical copy of a video game, I try to go for a Switch version, or, you know, obviously some games I'm going to go for the superior copy, just because, like, I would never go Armored Core 6 on a Switch. I know it's not there, but I would never do that. But that's, you know what I mean? But I prefer trying to find games on Switch, because at least with that, like with a Switch cartridge, I can plug it in and I can play, even if there is a patch that's needed. Like, that's how good sort of Nintendo is with making their things accessible. That, like, Nintendo's accessibility in that sense of making sure all audiences can play their consoles, it's so smart. Like, that is half the reason why they have such a big market share. And I don't mean, like, you know, race swapping or gender changing characters, but I mean like real accessibility, like making games that kids and adults like Wii Music, or doing outreach programs to donate Wii consoles or Switch consoles to old folks' homes, right? Or making sure that people who might not live in always online areas can still play a game if they physically hold it in their hand. it's a fantastic, they are offering fantastic services, and that's why I think a lot of us, myself included, are so, I mean, they do their own fair share of crap, but I think more often than not, they're probably like the best video game company in the video game sense, who actually care about the craft market industry of video games, like full stop. To Hill, and we didn't even get into that. They are one of the companies that also use predatory microtransactions approach. Ubisoft is one of the worst with those, probably second to somebody like Activision, but like that's just even more reason why I don't want to support any of their games. I don't want microtransactions. I don't want, unless your DLC pack is really significant, I don't really care. I've bought story DLCs before, right? Like, just most people do, because more often than not, those are like full-on additions to a game. But I think, like, in terms of something cosmetic, I've bought two things. I bought a pack for Call of Duty Warzone, the first one, that had a bunch of like anime girl skins for my weapons and stuff, because I thought it was hilarious. And then I bought the alternate costume pack for One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 because I'm just a sucker for One Piece and I just want more content from them. And I thought I actively wanted to support Koei Tecmo. But yeah, that's why bring back install discs, bring back install CDs, bring back keys, bring back just... We had it right. We didn't need to go further. When you go further, you get tech bro ideology like this. Right, exactly, Revolt. That's what I mean. How does Spider-Man 2 get a $300 million budget? That's a video... Like, I've brought this point up before, and I probably will never stop bringing it up. But that fucking game cost more than No Way Home. A live-action movie starring 3, 4, 5... You know, let's see. The 3 Spider-Men... oh my god, what is his name? Norman Osborn. Whatever. That actor's name. I'm blinking so hard. I'm also blinking on Doc Ock's actor's name, which is stupid. Jamie Foxx. Like, you have Zendaya. You have Benedict like, probably the least expensive person in that movie, like, aside from Ned, was probably Benedict Cumberbatch. And he probably cost $4 gazillion alone. And still, this live-action movie with all of these celebrities and all these effects cost less than a video game? Are you high? Like, what are we doing? That shouldn't be. That shouldn't be. Oh, look, it's open world and it's got all these graphics and whatever. It's still a worse game than Web of Shadows. And Web of Shadows came out in 2010. It's a worse game than Shattered Dimensions. And Shattered Dimensions came out in 2009, like even earlier. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Money doesn't translate to quality, and it's insulting that you expect us to get on board with this shit. Like, this is insane. I also don't want to have to go and spend 50 hours of my life on every single video game. Maybe I just want a 12-hour experience, right? Maybe I just want something quick. Not everything has to make me... Again, it's the ecosystem. Everything wants to keep you in its ecosystem so that it can just charge you and charge you and charge you and charge you for, you know, because the longer you sit there in the hub world of Street Fighter 6, the more you're going to be open to, okay, maybe I will buy that, you know, I'll spend $2 on that sweater, that Avatar sweater that I saw somebody wearing, right? Like, that's what I mean by ecosystem. It's so dumb. Let's see. Shinkai says, to know if something is an accident, try to see how much steps have to take place for the accident to happen. The more steps, the less it feels like an accident. That's so perfect, Shinkai, right? Because, and yes, Willem Dafoe, thank you. Oh my god, that was bugging me so much, Shinkai. Holy shit. Oh man, like, that was actually, like, hurting my brain. I saw him, I saw his face, I saw his filmography, I just could not hit it. Yeah, right, like, that was one of the main arguments, Shinkai. People were going like, you don't just accidentally throw a pop-up into a game screen. You have to program that. You have to test it. You have to check it. Like, there's things that have to go through for this to happen, right? It's not like you accidentally said a bad word on TV or your pants fell down. Like, things have to happen. And then, like, with Tremblay's thing here, you know that he didn't just go out. This wasn't just oh, hey, we're at E3 or Game Developers Conference, and we're on the show floor, and I'm having a quick impromptu chat. Like, this was with the Game Industry Biz interview was a specific, like, set thing. They knew was coming. They had the time. No way in hell was it an accident. Shinkai's got the right approach. And then Zero says, One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 actually got gifted this game for Christmas. Dude, I love this game. I love this series, like the Muso series, the Pirate Warriors series. Like, to the point where one of my best friends, it took me, like, it was like 4 years. I had harped on him, and I was like, buy this game, 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 to the point where, like, I wore him down. He's like, fine, it's on Steam sale for like $10. Will you shut the hell up? And then he played it, and then he's like, yeah, you were right. This game is like the best One Piece game. Yes, Flex, that's it, right? Like, Street Fighter 6, $15 turtle costumes. That's the modern day horse armor. I'm saying that right now. I am declaring that. Quote me on it. $15 for a costume for an avatar. Like, you can buy the turtles as fighters in Injustice 2 and buy Injustice 2 and probably buy all, like, the other DLCs for $15 total. In fact, I'm going to look it up right now. What is that site? Like, game compare prices, right? There's a site. GG Deals. That's what it is. Everybody, check out GG Deals. It's the best. Here, instead of... We'll go on this journey together, guys. Let's find out. Or here. So... Street Fighter 6. Let's see if they have the DLC up here. Character passes. Doesn't look like there's any costumes, but you've got your boosts. You've got your there it is, like your Xbox, your fighter coins or whatever. So, let's see. Now let's do Injustice 2. And keep in mind, this is, let's see, TMNT SF6 DLC. We'll go to Gamatsu. And I believe it's like each character has their own set, right? Yeah, right there. There it is. They all, so you get like this bundle of accessories and stuff. Ugh, I hate YouTube. I hate YouTube when it wants to be like this. Why are you being ass? Mute that a little bit, bring it down. But where was that shot? That was like the best shot. There we go. So, yeah, these 4 costumes. Maybe. And of course the internet doesn't want to like be cooperative, so now it's just going to leave me here, and now I look like a jackass. Go. There. Oh my god. I hate the internet. I hate the internet so much. Just no cooperation. Oh my god. There. Finally. Shit. So, yes, $15 for these bundles, which give you these costumes and then the individual pieces as accessories that you can use on your avatar, right? And again, costumes for your avatar. $15 full for each turtle. So that, what is that? $60 total dollars, the price of the game itself if you wanted to play as the damn turtles. Now, let's go back to game deals. Let's see what they were doing over there. Shut up. All right, game deals. Injustice 2. You can buy the Legendary Edition, which has it all, for $5. And that gets you playable turtles who are actually the turtles. Right? Like, they're even here. Like, there's their pack. Even if you wanted to buy them alone, you can get it for $5 just on their own. That is absolutely bonkers bullshit and should not be allowed. But that's the thing, right? Like Flex says, you sit in the ecosystem that long, you hang out, you spend months there, and you go, okay, I've seen it around. I really kind of want it. I've got $15 to spend. Why not? Boom. And that's all. It doesn't matter how long it takes. $15 is $15 no matter when it comes in. And especially to a company that could weather periods of no money for a while. Like, it's so bullshit, and I want it to end. It's so stupid. Yeah, Flex, premium currency that expires. I didn't even mention that part. Whoops, wrong thing. For Street Fighter 6, those fighter coins. These things expire. Let's see. I wonder if this will tell us how long it goes. It doesn't. I think it's only like a year. Like, you have to spend it. It's so bad. what is this, soccer team of the year? Get out of here. Get out of here, Brits. But yeah, just absolute the industry is not in a good place. The companies in charge, the people in charge are not good people, or at least they're not good people in the sense of treating their customers right. And we just need it to end. Raise hell. Don't buy into Ubisoft subscription service with this. Like, don't buy their games. Don't until we get like a public walkback. Don't let up on them, because that's the only way us customers have is to send a message nowadays. In the face of probably, I'm going to guarantee they have ESG investment from the notorious, like the same usual suspects, right? So the only way to really combat that is just to show people that we don't want it, and we don't like it. It's really like, I wish I had more of a fervor to cap this off with, because I'm angry and I hate this all, but I also just, the solution is to keep on keeping on, and there's nothing new and bombastic we can do except just continue to hit them, continue to call them out, and not support this crap. Go support, go buy old titles, go buy old things. I don't know, just don't buy into this crap. Don't buy into this philosophy. Don't buy into this predation. Just, I know, if you're here, I know you're way smarter than falling for this crap, because you're here. You made a choice to hit play and watch this show. You know where the good news, where the good entertainment is. It's right here. So you're smart enough to know, don't fall for this shit. All right. Yes, vote with your wallet, Timon, every single day. And so, like, just a quick, like, so that's always the mantra I sort of profess, which is vote with your wallet. Vote. And my support of that technique will always be, like, that's always the way I will say to fight back. But I also have been a little disheartened in the idea of it lately, because of, people like BlackRock, Vanguard, all those investors. They have so much more money that, look at Disney, look at all that stuff. If things fail, they have enough to just keep it going for years. So that's not to say don't do it, because it is effective and it does show people what we want. Like, show them you don't want this Ubisoft crap. Show them that you do want Ultimate Spider-Man by Hickman. Vote with your wallet, absolutely. But I also, I'm slightly, or what is the right word? I offer caution, which is don't expect it to be the instant solution. It's just the strongest one we have now. But with that, guys, that was the Ubisoft topic, and I think because we didn't get to it last week, and I don't want to end the show without having done it. Oh, look at all my friends are live. Park Plays, Jacob's live. Let's take a look at that Halo trailer. Let's get super angry. All right. Right? So, Halo, not a very, very bad series. I did not enjoy my time watching that very first season. Paramount took what was essentially this like harrowing, depressing story about humanity being on the fringes of existence and having to fight back through insane odds, and they turned it into generic super sci-fi, right? I've talked about this before, but the current push to make Master Chief a chosen one in both the games and the TV show is the dumbest move they absolutely could have done. Because there was a character in him when he was nothing more, like, he was a human and an enhanced human, but he was still human, and he still had his restrictions, and he was just another cog in the machine trying to fight back. He just happened to be the Spartan we were following. Now it's just boring. Now it's like, oh, you were always chosen? Oh, all the Spartans can do like cool flips and shit and are basically Spider-Man. Like, go watch the opening to Halo 5 Guardians. That thing is like, here, I'll just pull it up right now. What am I talking about? Like, that's why we're here. Go. Yeah, just right. Like, look at this. This doesn't say Halo to me. This is, why are all the Spartans doing like the most badass superhuman, insane like superhero shit ever? This is not what Spartans were to me, right? And like it even gets worse here when he jumps up into the he's gonna jump up into the Covenant thing and like swing and like whoa, like why did we Marvelify Halo? This didn't need to happen. Halo was good as a war story. But Halo 5 Guardians aside, that game was a piece of crap anyway. One of the weirdest decisions too, and I'm sure you guys saw him, but they use Mike Coulter as a face model in this game, the Luke Cage actor, but he has a different voice actor, and I just don't know why you would half it like that, like half-ass it like that. But let's get back to that Halo Season 2 trailer. All right. Cold watch with you guys. I will be pausing, I will be yelling, but let's see how this show is going to further butcher the Halo mythos. Oh boy.
People of Reach.
Oh, here, let's throw on some subtitles. Maybe. Oh, unavailable. Oh yeah, that's something I need to address before.
Bring you blessings. Know that I am the instrument of your extinction.
Who even are you? Oh, this is.
Know that I am.
Dude.
Sometimes events are beyond our control.
Alright.
And in those moments,
I know what's happening, and this is so stupid.
we save what we can.
Look at your faces.
Pablo!
I do not see defeat. No! And I do not see surrender. You will not make a stand alone.
Okay, I want to pause right here before we keep going. But very clearly, this season is covering the Fall of Reach storyline, which if you guys know anything about Halo, if you played that, that titular game, you read the novel or anything, you'll know that this is supposed to be this was the low point for humanity. This is, Reach is essentially Earth 2.0, a giant station with residents and humans and everybody's living, and it just gets wiped. The Covenant come in, they destroy it. Some people manage to get out, but it is a huge defeat for humanity, right? That was all supposed to take place in the Halo timeline that we've been told. That sort of takes place way before the game start, like 10 years before the game start. Master Chief's not even supposed to be there. During this event in the games, in the original canon, Chief is supposed to be in cryosleep. He's supposed to be hanging out on the Pillar of Autumn on his way out into deep space. He's not supposed to be at the Fall of Reach. So already they're shitting all over the canon in a way that they didn't really need to. You really could have done... There's two ways they could have gone about this, depending on how they wanted to do it, right? One, you could have, if you really wanted to be bold, done a whole mini-series that's just the Fall of Reach. Don't focus on the Chief, focus on them, and then that could be like your Book of Boba Fett Season 2, like 1.5, right? People would have probably been fine with that. Or, if you really needed Pablo Schreiber there as Master Chief to, bring in the star power, you do, you have, like, a story... Like story, the A plot in the season focuses on him in the present day, and then the B plot to the season focuses on the Spartans in Reach, and then they eventually reach something, they collide, they intertwine, whatever the hell. It all comes to a head. But this feels like desperation. You're already like going for the big... Essentially, guys, here's the best way to equate this, right? Imagine if instead of with Avengers Assemble, the very first Avengers film, the Joss Whedon one. Imagine if instead in that story, instead of showing Loki and like his army and showing the build up to the Avengers, imagine if they immediately were like, we're the Avengers, we're teamed up, now we're doing we're in the Infinity War plot. Thanos has the gauntlet in Avengers 1. Avengers 1 ends with the snap. It would feel way too fast, way too forced, way too undeserved, and probably comic book fans, we would be like, this is a little desperate. Well, that's exactly what's happening here, and it's just... The game, like Fall of Reach, is such a good game, and it tells the story so well. it's just, I know that they're bastardizing it here. And again, I'm going to give a quick shout out because credit where credit is due. That's what we're all about here. This show still has really good production quality. I can't really ignore that. The props look really good. The effects look fantastic. All that stuff looks good. I can't really deny that. It's all in service of shit, right? Like, it's all in service of a really bad story, but I can't deny that it all looks pretty damn good. So let's keep going.
Something the enemy does not. We have heroes.
So lame.
When the battle ends, they just call it a victory and say it was because of me, because of something I did.
What is this? What is this? Why is Master Chief doing the sad, like, brooding in the, like, I gotta get on the streets, reconnect to my roots thing? What the fuck is this? Like, this is my biggest problem with this adaptation of Halo, right? Master Chief does not question orders. He does not break rank. Like, he is so, as much as he's our hero and as much as he's a cool guy and who doesn't afraid of anything, he has been brainwashed by the UNSC to just be the perfect weapon. That's all he is to them. Especially if you go read the books, right? Where the ones by amazing sci-fi author Eric Nyland. He goes into that exact detail of Master Chief's, like, training and origin. So I hate, like, there was a dumb moment in Halo 5 where, or it's either 4 or 5, I think it's 5, where a UNSC commander goes like, Chief, hand over Cortana. She's going rampant. And he goes, no, sir. And he, like, runs away because he cares about Cortana. And I'm like, one, abso-fucking-lutely not. He would have handed her over and then probably found a way to go get her, but he would have handed her over. That's so stupid. But in the first season of the show, they turn him into... They basically turn him into Hawkeye from or not even Hawkeye. Hawkeye's not. They turn him into Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner, where he's very meek. He tries to make quips, but they never land. Like, that was the first episode of the Halo first season. There's a moment where he rescues a young girl from a colony, and they're flying off into space, and he offers her food, and so, like, he's sitting there in the ship, and she's eating food, and she says something along the lines of, like, oh, you don't eat or whatever? And he goes, like, you said I'm a robot. Robots, or earlier in the episode, she calls him a robot, and then when they're there, she's like, what, you don't want anything to eat? And he goes, I'm a robot. Robots don't eat. And she stands there, and she, like, looks at him, and then he turns to her, and he goes, that was a joke. And it's like, no! Master Chief doesn't do that! That's not who he is! Master Chief is a hard as nails, like, he doesn't even really have a personality outside of the fact that he is the Master Chief, that he is a weapon. This is absolutely the dumbest thing. I hate this.
Something you can't see,
Whoops.
but you feel it.
Like, just imagine if this production budget and level was given to, like, a show running team who cared about the actual material. Whoa. Like, this does not hype me. I do not get hyped at all by this. It feels sad. It feels pathetic. So,
They just call it a victory.
that's basically my thoughts on this Halo trailer. It does nothing for me. It obviously signals that it's going to be more of the same. But what really, really perturbs me that I want to comment on before we probably wrap up here is the fact that if you've played The Fall of Reach, you know that game ends with one of the best. Here, we're just going to pull it up and I'm going to play it in the background. Because this is the coolest thing, right? So, in The Fall of Reach, when basically the plot is you are a Spartan who's on Reach, and you are eventually, as the plot progresses, when you get to the end, you are the last one there, and you basically say, like, I will fight them, and I will hold them off, like the Covenant off, while everybody else escapes. So here you are, you're left here, you have literally nothing, like, again, this is a cutscene. You're basically like, oh, I've beaten the game. Here we go. Like, but then, yeah, it clicks and you're put back in control and you get a new mission. and you get that look. You can't even see it, but I got chills. I still get chills to this day when that pops up. It says current objective, survive. So basically what the ending of Reach is an endless wave battle against all sorts of different Covenant. It will go on as long as you are able to fight, but eventually the ending of this fight is that the Spartan you are dies. Like, that is the canon, and it happens like this, right? You put up the struggle as the player. You're in there. You're fighting to your last breath. You don't know at that point what more, if anything, comes after survive. Do you survive? Maybe you do. You have no idea. But you get this, like, this is how this ends, where the character, her name is his or her name, depending on which one you choose. I went with a girl, like I always do in games, so to me, she's a girl. Noble Six, she does this, like, last stand here, where she takes on all these elites, and it's just harrowing, and you can't do anything, and it's just sort of this good parallel to the inevitability and hopelessness that Noble Six faced in that moment in Reach. And if I'm right, which, you know, it's not really, I feel like it's not that hard to predict what this show is going to do, judging by all these scenes here, like, they're going to give this moment to Master Chief, and he's going to, you know, be ambushed and have to face all these waves of Coveys, but he's probably going to survive. He's going to be super badass, and it's not going to have anywhere near the same level of, like, thematic resonance of hit that the game does. And again, I mean, is that not just the sort of perfect encapsulation of all such adaptations that we're getting lately, outside of, you know, the rare occasions like One Piece and maybe Yu Yu Hakusho? At least that's how I would argue. It's like they're all these are all pale imitations of the real thing, and they miss. Again, I say this all the time, but producers, Hollywood, they are so, when they get their hands on something, they focus too much on the superficial elements of it. You know, what do they look like? What do they, make sure you have the sword in there. Make sure that recognizable thing is in there. What is Halo about? Halo's about war. Put them in a battle. Halo has aliens. Make sure the aliens are there. Like, they focus on all these superficial elements, and then they don't take the second to dig into why people actually like those characters past that. Because guess what, guys? We can find 900,000 other, you know, stoic space marine sci-fi properties out there. I mean, our boy Timon right here, he shared his opinion with his mic drop, but he says Mass Effect is better than Halo. Mic drop, right? Like, we've got Mass Effect, we've got Warhammer, we've got Doom. Like, there's just, and these are all just, like, in the realm of video games. This isn't even going into, like, movies or books. I'm sure the world of books has a million of them. My stepdad could probably tell me, like, all about them. That's what he does all day. He just reads, like, good old, like, sci-fi novels. But the reason we attach to these characters is because of the deeper offering they give. Their characters, what we can connect with, how they react and interact. Once you take that away, it's just a shell. It's literally just a skin puppet. It's literally, you know, I watch this and I feel a sense of unease because I'm like, I know what you're doing. I can see all the bits you're trying to aim for, but this isn't it. And it's disheartening, depressing, sad, pathetic that you chose to go this route when the path to success was essentially right in front of you the entire time, right? And all of this is depressing. I mean, this isn't even getting into, like, they'll probably bring back the human Covenant person. They'll probably bring back the spunky teenage sidekick. It's just, none of this seems fun anymore. You took what was essentially something unique and you made it generic, and everybody is worse off for it, right? Like, it's just, I think you guys can even probably feel my, like, disheartenment pouring through the screen right now, because I just look at this and I can't feel anything more than just here we go again. Timon says Heisei era Kamen Riders are the best. Mic drop. I might say Showa, but I also don't explicitly disagree with you there, Timon. But with that said, we are at 2.5 hours. Friends, I think this is a perfect time to call it. Oh, no, that wasn't a chopper. That was my, I was moving around back here, and my green screen was making like fan noises. Tehillim says, agreed. Master Chief isn't suitable for what they are doing here. I could see it working for a Spartan. Right. If they gave that story to a generic Spartan who does die in the end for Reach, all that resonance hits home. But if you have Reach end with super badass guy kicking everybody's ass and facing no danger, well then it's just a set piece. It looks cool, but it has no substance to it. Let's see. And then Timon says, Showa, yes, that was a trick question. I got you. Zero says, this was a nice ride just as I finished a daunting 30XX run. Man, I've really got to start that game. I've heard nothing but good things about 30XX, especially from you. And obviously, if you guys know Zero, to get a good recommendation out of him means something. But guys, with that said, as always, I want to thank every single one of you for tuning in tonight. I look forward to Friday nights. I look forward to talking to all of you. It's a highlight of my week, and I thank you guys for making that possible. Everybody from Shinkai to Ravul to my boy Zero to Hillam to Timon to Flex to everybody else who showed up and didn't chat or showing up in the replay. Thank you guys for stopping by. It's my pleasure. I can't wait to talk to you guys again next week. As always, if you want to see more of me, you can follow me on Twitter at KabutoWriterMav. And if you want to see more of me live before next week, you can check out Bounding Into Comics 01 stream every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, where myself, Cider, and Jacob, and Josh, when he's healthy, break down the week's biggest entertainment news. So if you want the coverage of Marvel, DC, all that Star Wars fun stuff, that's where it happens. I keep it over there. But of course, next week, same Mav time, same Mav channel for another episode of The Good, the Mad, the Ugly. As always, we react to whatever's going on in the week. So who knows what the topic will be? We'll have to find out when we get there. But with that all said, I want you guys all to enjoy your weekend. I want you guys to have, go do something fun, take a break, relax, don't get caught up in internet drama. If you feel the need to jump into that, take a break and go grab a snack and then see if you're still in for it. But with that said, I think we have where is my browser? And it's not working. There we go. As always, guys, I have your last call for last minute news. And this week it is it's related, but basically, as you guys can see, the title for tonight was Dear Ubisoft, Kiss My Ass, and I opened up our Ubisoft section by outright telling Ubisoft to kiss my ass. Well, the way Kiss My Ass sounds in my head was, it sounds like this, because it's inspired by perhaps one of my, if not my favorite joke from King of the Hill. So, with that, let us... Oh no, why won't you show up? Oh, there we go, because I had you marked. So yes, with that, let us check out your last call for last minute news featuring my good friend Hank Hill and Khan Supanusan phone.
Imagine if our boys went into battle with hair in their eyes. They'd be at a marked disadvantage, I tell you what.
Hey, hillbillies! Look at my new SUV! Oh, this baby's so huge, if I crash into your puny pickup, you get flattened like pancake! Ha ha!
Where are you gonna keep it, smart guy? It doesn't even fit in your garage.
Maybe I keep garage in SUV! Kiss my ass!
Well, LoveCon, one of the best shows, one of the best characters. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I am calling it a night, and I will talk to all of you very soon. Take it easy.